make my day, honey bunny, because AOC just got totally humiliated and triggered by one Donald Trump, if you would. This is just fantastic. You see, it all started because he did what, well, presidents have had an opportunity to do in the past, but didn't take the opportunity to do. And that would be to, at least from what we can tell right now, reportedly, as long as you don't believe the one intel report that CNN is pushing forward, we'll get to that in just a moment. We took out the nuclear strike capability of Iran. And so that's kind of a big deal. But he did so without contacting the 500 and some odd members of Congress, because, that would kind of spoil the surprise just a little bit. I mean, you can do that, or you can put it on Signal and send it to the Atlantic. I don't know. Pick your poison here. He did not let all of the members of Congress know, and so she's livid as a response to that. She's and now she's calling herself a silly girl. We're going to get to all of it. Just keep in mind what started it all, ladies and gentlemen. It was AOC saying, you know what, the president's disastrous decision to bomb Iran without authorization is a grave violation of the Constitution and congressional war powers. He has impulsively risked launching a war that may ensnare us for generations, absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment, she writes. Well, he wasn't going to let that one go undone. So this is like the most epic roast. He's had some pretty epic roasts, but I got to tell you, this was certainly one of the best. I'm going to get really close to the camera. Forgive me. I'm still up in Live Free or Die, New Hampshire, visiting my family all week. And so as a result of that, we have a little bit less than perfect setup on the audio and video front. I appreciate your patience as I get closer and closer to the camera. He writes, stupid AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the, quote, dumbest people in Congress, is now calling for my impeachment, despite the fact that the crooked and corrupt Democrats have already done that twice before. I mean, fair point, right? I mean, they keep trying and trying and trying. It's not getting them anywhere. You'd think at some point, it loses its luster, so to speak. He goes on to say the reason for her rantings is all of the victories that the U.S. has had under the Trump administration, for sure. I mean, we are winning, and it's all great. I mean, just look at oil prices coming down, inflation getting in check, the economy is still growing, we've got jobs being added, there's a lot to celebrate. I digress. He goes on, the Democrats aren't used to winning, and they can't stand the concept of our country being successful again. When we examine, this is the best part, her test scores, we will find out that she is not qualified for office, but nonetheless, far more qualified than Crockett, who is a seriously low IQ individual, or Ilhan Omar. So he goes on to go on about them. But, she is not what we would say of the caliber that you would expect from a member of Congress. So AOC got totally triggered by this. Somehow she just couldn't take it. She'll dish it out, but she can't take it, right? I mean, she dished it out to him and he fired back and he insulted her intelligence, which is understandable in light of some of the things that she has done and she has said. And so she fired back with this tweet, shall I say? Okay, here's her response. Totally triggered and referring to herself as a silly girl. He actually never referred to her as a silly girl, but hey, if the shoe fits. Mr. President, don't take your anger out on me. I'm just a silly girl. Take it out on whoever convinced you to betray the American people and our Constitution by illegally bombing Iran and dragging us into war. It only took 5 months for you to break almost every promise you made. Woo! Okay. So AOC, for you to say that it was illegal for him to do that, that would be kind of a stretch, shall we just say? And I'll get into all the legal reasons. You know what? I tend to be right on this stuff. I don't actually have a law degree, but I have read the Constitution and I am civically minded enough to understand what's what. And if you go and look at the Constitution and you look at the reality that he is the commander-in-chief with the ability in certain situations to exercise these opportunities, I think you will find that legally speaking, without a doubt, the law is on his side, because here's the reality. You're not going to go forward and tell 500 some odd members of Congress, some of whom are, frankly, I mean, you said it, honey bunny, silly girls. You're not going to tell them what's going on, because you would actually risk the entire mission going south, right? I mean, it would kind of kill the whole idea of surprise, would it not? But she is who she is. I mean, just recently, when Tom Homan was saying what he was saying about making sure that we arrested people and deported people, or at least had the ability to arrest, like to go after them in the first place, right? If they had committed a crime, you can't stand in the way of ICE. And if you did, that would be a problem. What did she say?
If anyone's breaking the law in this situation, it's not members of Congress, it's the Department of Homeland Security. It's people like Tom Homan and Secretary Kristi Noem. You lay a finger on them, we are going to have a problem.
Okay, well, she's triggered. There is a word for that. I mean, she's been triggered all along, right? If you say something that she doesn't agree with, she's triggered and she thinks you're misinformation. Now, that'd be the day that someone like this is in charge. She's literally said it, guys. I mean, this is actually no joke. She's come out just within the last 10 days and said we need to control misinformation, disinformation. And, I'll let her say it because she's kind of off her rocker, but she fully doesn't comprehend the meaning of the First Amendment. That is indeed true. Here we go.
I do think that several members of Congress in some of my discussions have brought up media literacy because that is a part of what happened here. And we're going to have to figure out how we rein in our media environment so that you can't just spew disinformation and misinformation. It's one thing to have differing opinions, but it's another thing entirely to just say things that are false. And so that's something that we're looking into.
I mean, if I were like her, I might actually say it was false of her to say that the president couldn't do what he did. But you know what? I'm not like her. I'm actually a big believer in the more speech you have, the better off you are. Joyce, thank you. You're laughing about CNN. Yeah, no, I know. You know what? That's the legacy media. That is in the past. We are moving forward here. The reality is we're here on this show, right? Because there's this massive change in the media landscape. And who would have thought this was possible? I certainly wouldn't have when I started this a couple of years ago. And, we just kind of had a handful of people tuning in, and some of you, many of you, I think all of you are still here, and I appreciate all you've done to make this the success it has. But unbelievable. She is clearly triggered. This is a sort of overwhelming response, right? She's got to take to Twitter. She's got to take him out. She's got to call him this. She's doing the silly girl thing. And like I said, if the shoe fits, maybe that'll be her new, remember they called them the squad. Maybe we can call them the silly girls, because she's not alone in this, right? She's not alone. And there is this divide that they love to put in place over there in the Democrat circle. They love to kind of divide and conquer. And there's been a big effort, if you would, to divide men and women. And so maybe she's thinking this is the new next greatest thing. We can have the silly girls over here with the men over there. That might be a very deliberate move on behalf of one AOC. But again, she's the one who's frankly being quite silly in terms of calling for impeachment, given that he did something that may actually bring peace to the world. And let's hope it brings peace to the world. As I look at the market, it looks like we're getting some peace to the world. We can talk about that a little later in the program, because just wonderful, I think, example again of what MAGA policy can actually do when done right. Michael Halpern, thank you as well for your generosity. Much, much appreciated here on the show. And, I guess I just got a super chat. Sometimes I get a quote from you guys and I like to be able to read it on the air. But anyway, again, AOC taken to the airwaves and voicing her frustration and fury at Donald Trump. But it's clear she's been humiliated, because I'll tell you, the party doesn't like the direction where this is going. You have only to look at what just went down in New York City to know that. You have only to look at all the donors pulling their money because they do not like this progressive wing of the party that's being ruled by the likes of AOC. In fact, the latest polling shows that most Americans consider her to be the head of the DNC. You got AOC as the head of your party. I don't know what to tell you. Good luck. But this is what's changing because her own party is starting to shift. When you see Mike Bloomberg taking money away, Barry Diller taking money away, Mark Lazary, the billionaire hedge fund guy, taking money away. These are prominent New Yorkers that would normally be contributing to the fund and to the cause. But when they see the likes of the socialist that was just elected as the Democrat primary winner in the mayoral election, when they see AOC out there with her craziness or the likes of Jasmine Crockett, well, you know what? It gives them pause. And can you blame them?